Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, Sean. Good morning, good morning. If you just joined in, I want to thank all of you that are tuning in this morning. And there's a lot of discussion that I will be talking about here again. My name is Fonton Daniel. I will be speaking live here from the great state of Texas, here in the United States. If you just tune in, I want to take a moment to thank all of you. If you are here in the United States, wherever you are here in the United States, I want to take a moment to thank all of you that are tuning in. Remember that I am broadcast live here from I'm broadcast live from my Facebook and on my YouTube. So either way, you should be able to get me live. If you are in La Republic, if you are in Ground Zero, wherever you are, I want to take a moment to thank all of you that are watching. And here again, my name is Fontan Daniel. I will be broadcast live here from the great state of Texas, here in the United States. So if you are watching, and take a moment, I thank you. And I want to thank our brothers in Ground Zero. I want to thank all of those in Europe. I want to thank everyone around the world that are closely following this crisis that is going on in the Southern Cameroon territory, where there is a massive murdering, slaughtering of citizens that is perpetrated by the brutal dictatorship. So I will be talking about this. But today, my question will be, what lavish does the White House, does the United States Department of Defense, does the U.S. National Security Advisors, and the United States Congress? But more about that to follow. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Mr. Christoph, for joining me live. Thank you for joining me live. It is very, very important. And I want to thank all those who are also joining me live And I want to thank those here in the United States. If wherever you are, I want to take the moment to thank all of you that are tuning in this morning. It may not be morning in your own area, but it is morning here in the United States. Fellow brothers and sisters across the globe. Today, I have a question that I will be posting today to the United States Department of the White House, the U.S. State Department, the U.S. Department of Defense, the U.S. National Security Advisor, and the U.S. Congress. So it is imperative that we find out this is exactly what the United States government wants. And the ongoing genocide and brutality carried out by the most brutal force on earth here in the world. But my question today, I want to take a moment to thank all of those here in this wonderful great nations, the United States. I want to thank the United States Congress. I want to thank the White House. I want to thank the brilliant, the U.S. Secretary of State. I want to thank the U.S. Secretary of State for Defense. I want to thank the National Security Advisors. But today my question is, what is the policy of the United States towards this evil dictatorship, Paul Biya of Cameroon? So, but before we proceed, I know it is a very high time here in the United States. It is a high time because on the November 6th, there will be a different form of government. And there is crisscrossing, members trying to get to the finishing touches against the November 6th, where they will determine who will be the lead in the government here in the wonderful great nations. I know many people, no one is paying a close attention. Everyone is geared towards the November 6th elections. And I myself am not even exempted because I might be one of the participants, but not on one of the elected participants, but participate on these deliberations. But however, I am proud to be a citizen of these wonderful nations. But however, there is more to this that I'm asking the United States government. Is the United States government going to remain silent about the atrocity that is currently going on? Or are they going to take actions? So today, I will begin by the U.S. National Security Advisor. I hope you... That is the U.S. National Security Advisor, John Bolton. That is the U.S. National Security Advisor, John Bolton. He gives recommendations about the policy of the United States in terms of peace and security, in terms of what the United States stands as a vision when it comes in terms of security and protecting the people of the United States. We all just witnessed a murdering of a United States citizen. Before the murdering of the United States citizen, Charles Vesco, it came about when U.S. diplomat present a critical expose about this regime. The U.S. ambassador is that United States is not aware of the crisis. The United States ambassador in the neighboring country, La Republic of Cameroon, he presented a critical analysis of this regime. His life was even threatened by the same regime. But the United States hasn't taken the matter into consideration, or there is a security in place. What should happen should United States citizens? United States citizens shouldn't be afraid to travel any part of the world when it comes to citizens. We all know what happened to the Benghazi. United States knew exactly what happened to the Benghazi. And I'm sure they should have learned a lesson that there is United States stands in anywhere, any citizen that represents this great nation must be able to travel any part of the world without fear of any repercussion. But yet, United States citizen is not safe. United States ambassador to the neighboring country, La Republic, present a critical analysis of the terrorist government of Paul Biya. U.S. Defense Secretary, I don't know whether he is aware of that critical analysis. Let's look who is the U.S. Secretary of Defense. That's the U.S. Secretary of Defense. He's aware of this terrorist government of Paul Biya regime. He is aware of this terrorist government of Paul Biya regime. And he was told by the U.S. diplomat, U.S. ambassador to this neighboring country, La Republic of Cameroon, about the terrorist organizations. I remember the United States Department of Defense pulled out its military assistance to the neighboring country, La Republic of Cameroon. But they never have a plan B, what should be done. It takes 45 minutes for Africa to do something against this terrorists and maintain lasting peace in the West African region. And yet, I don't think the United States has any plan yet on the table. Today, I am present because United States citizens on a visit and caught in a crossfire with the neighboring country dictatorship military. This is the military that currently command that brutal dictatorship. These are U.S. citizens. The person in the middle is Charles Waco from Indiana. He was shot in his car and several bullets were punctured, which immediately led to his cold-blooded death by the military of the neighboring country, La Republic of Cameroon. It is quite deteriorating, and the following images that I'm going to be shown, including the continued terrorists terrorizing the citizens, and the people feel very in chaos. These are homes. These are homes that are currently being burned down to ashes. I am going to post all these images on my Facebook for those who are not on my Facebook. You can watch them on my Facebook. It is absolutely terrifying. It is absolutely terrifying. First, we all know the government of this neighboring country, La Republique. We all know that they are never truthful in whatever they spoke. They are never truthful. You all know that women and children in the midst of the desert, in the midst of the forest, in the upper north of the neighboring country, La Republique. These women were just wandering. They were wandering in the forest. They basically have no food to eat. They basically has no food to eat. And they were simply just wandering around. These women were just wandering around. And this military of the neighboring country, La Republique of Cameroon, Open fire. Open fire. This, let me. Before I proceed to that, this is the bloody images of the car that was carrying the U.S. missionary on a visit to the southern days former British trusteeship territory, now the Federal Republic of Ambazonian. The British former trusteeship territory in Bamboo. This U.S. missionary, whose brother is a member of the United States Congress. So he was on a visit and he was brutally murdered. I just happened to show these images. But before I drift to that, let's talk about what happened. How inefficient and effectively this government lacked accuracy to report even the Minister of Communication of the neighboring country. He unapologetically stated in his state media that the shooting or the murdering of the women in the northern province was carried out by the Malian government. But the British BBC, who actually report the incidents, give the topography of the particular location, which was contrary to what the communication spokesperson of this neighboring country, La Republic of Cameroon, indicate on their own state media. You are aware that the same La Republic public media announced that there was an international observer mission, Transparency International, and they report it on their own state media. Who is more accurate? The government spokesperson that actually investigation and portray the image of that government in the state media announced that there was an observer mission from Transparency International. And I am so proud that the Transparency International immediately denounced that they were never represented in this neighboring country. And the same government has issued another document purportedly signed by Emmanuel Macron, which I am certainly not sure that Emmanuel Macron actually signed that document, congratulate Paul Biya for his victory. You all know that this particular atrocity of this government, has always been forgery, the architect of forgery. This government has been the architect of forgery and forged every document to portray, showing the images that they are actually represent the people. And this question that I am posing, that I am asking, what is the position of the United States Department of Defense? What is the position of the United States Department of Defense? What is the position of the U.S. National Security Advisor? What is the position of the White House? What is the position of the U.S. State Department? What is the position? Despite an extensive analysis presented by the U.S. ambassador to the neighboring country, that clear analysis should have given a clear warning to the government of the United States that there is a potential problem that may arise, which has already occurred. Imagine the citizens of these great nations traveling elsewhere and are afraid of their potential security. And not only the fact that his own brother is a member of the security of the U.S. Congress that has just risen and stating the position of the United States, but yet that document is still yet to be fortified and implemented into action. The people of Southern Cameroon, now the Federal Republic of Ambazonian, it's not an ending fighting for their suppression. It's not ending. There is something that is quite clear. Cameroon, the people of Ambazonian, they are not any fighting for cessation or suppression as currently portrayed by world media and some other governmental organizations. Remember, the same organizations that created this neighboring country to become a nation is the same organization that created the people of Southern Cameroon. And therefore, the people of Southern Cameroon has equal privileges as La Republic du Cameroon. And so what happened? Is it because of the bribery and corruption that is currently erupted in the United Nations that effective government, effective policy cannot be executed immediately and prevent this ongoing? It is quite amazing to me and to the rest of, and surprising to many people around the world, that despite the most brutal and the corrupt system, despite the fact that the U.S. ambassador in his extensive report condemning this La Republic government, and yet unequivocally the United Nations immediately admitted La Republic into the member of the Security Council without any precaution. It is quite amazing, not only to the other community, how the words remain adamantly silent as though nothing is happening. Imagine over 1,000 young children, boys between the ages of 14 and some below, were actually murdering, and they are currently murdering. As I'm speaking, there are at least 15 that have been murdered last night across the Southern Cameroon territory. And yet, the world still has a solution. But today, I am asking the United States government, what leverage does the United States government has? Are we going to allow this to continue to persist? It takes 45 minutes for the United States Department of Defense, especially the AFRICOM. It needs authorization to be immediately implemented by the United States Department of Defense, U.S. State Department, the White House, and the United States Congress. Written document will not take action. Remember that we all know from past historical events, we all know that dictatorship will never relinquish power, even when there is a battle of bayonet, even at the door of the dictatorship. Are we going to stay silent and allow the world to be murdered? Are we going to stay as a... I understand that the United States doesn't have to engage in every nation, but things that affect us, that is a priority of the great nations of the United States. It is something that the United States must take into consideration. It is not something we must ignore. Because as the spill continues, as the blood spill continues, it's going to erupt into a different level. But we have a power to do something. 45 minutes by the United States Department AFRICOM can terminate that nonsense, and immediately we have a lasting peace and security in that region. Either we take a moment and do it now, or we stay later and have another chaotic scene coming on. But we can do this because we are capable to do this. United States Congress with remember, writing document. You can write billion page of document. Dictatorship will never. You can write billions page of document. Write resolution. United States respect the constitution of these great nations. And everyone is below the Constitution. The Constitution is above everyone. And it is not a large volume of document. It is a small volume that specifies the value of these nations. But with a brutal dictatorship, a big volume of dictionary, they will never respect it. And so the United States is capable to terminate this and let's move on and build a lasting solution. We don't need a prerequisite from another nation. So it's time the United States take an initial step. Whether its action require authorization of the president of this nation to do something and eliminate this brutal individual, it's action now. We should forego writing document, writing resolution, because resolution is effective here in the United States because we are able to implement and respect the resolution. But when it comes to the terms of the dictatorship, resolution doesn't make sense to them because they pay less attention until at the point of a bayonet. You all know that despite the resolution that was written to Gaddafi, he was ignored until the 4 citizens at the U.S. Embassy of the U.S. were brutally murdered. And the president take action. And that person was gone. You all know dictatorship, they never believe that something can happen to them. They believe in supernatural power. They believe that the God will bring them. And that is why they were able to import whatever they call the master from whatever country, believe that he has the supernatural power to protect and prevent them from any action. I am here to present this case that to the U.S. Department of Defense, to the United States Congress, to the White House. I know everyone is geared towards the election, but however, this is an emergency situation. This is an emergency situation that requires a unilateral action now. Are United States going to ignore? Is United States going to respect its actions? Are United States going to be romancing with the system? Is United States going to be romancing with Paul Biya? Who is Paul Biya? Because many people don't know who this hell is. Okay, I'm going to show the images of who the hell this person is. This is the image of the person. This is the terrorist that is currently terrorizing the people of Southern Cameroon. I don't know if the image is showing great. This is the terrorist that is currently terrorizing the people of Southern Cameroon and the murdering of the U.S. missionary that is currently in visit with his family and his other relatives. as you can see, the images might be very poor for you, for your view. This is citizens in the Southern Cameroon territory. The citizens has choose another option because they are being murdered indiscriminately. They are being slaughtered indiscriminately. So the citizen has choose another way out to cut down the bridges that link the neighboring country, La Republic of Cameroon. That link not only La Republic, but that link their inter-villages. The essence is to prevent the military continue murdering and slaughtering the citizens. And this one, I'm sorry, this one just a problem. But anyway, this is the individual that were picked up in Europe. These were the people that were picked up in Europe and presented to be an independent and presented that they were an international observer mission, Transparency International. You can see that they were enriched. Those are people that were picked up from the street of Europe. And they were immediately enriched. And that's what they call the Transparency International. The observer mission that award him, that observe his elections and place him as in his coronation as the 36 years in his, he will add another 7 years to his coronation. And before, he will be 92 years and have 40-something years in power. What a disgrace. So, what can the United States do? One, the United States takes 45 minutes. It takes 45 minutes. It takes authorizations. It takes authorizations to take off this individual in West Africa. United States can choose to do it now and save human dignity, human kindness, or the delay. But either or, United States is going to get involved. Whether United States like it or not, it's matter of factual. Whether Donald Trump chooses to be independent, that he's not going to engage in West Africa, whether he chooses not to, but it is a matter of fact, he will eventually engage. It is time to do it now and save human life, or ignore and do it later. But either way, United States will get involved because already there is a possibility that United States must get involved, because when a congressman's brother on a visit and being terminated indiscriminately and targeted and killed, then it's time that the United States must do something. I want to see whether Congress is going to waiting for resolutions. Because this is not time for resolution. Dictatorship is not careless about resolutions, because they've written several resolutions. It's time for action. Action, action. It's time for take unilateral action against any evil dictatorship. And then we must set example for anyone that attempts any United States citizen. And the United States citizen must have a privilege that they can travel in any part of the world and feel proud because the government of the United States can protect that individual. It's time that the United States must stand and protect its citizens. We all know the Benghazi. We know the Benghazi. Was it a failure of a certain system to do something? And what do we have in place? And that we can be able to protect citizens of the United States wherever they are. Are we going to stay and remain adamant? Are we going to ignore? Or are we going to do something about it? Maybe we can do something. Are we going to spend the entire time and spend tax money calling for a resolution? Because we respect resolutions here in the United States, but dictatorship doesn't respect resolutions because they don't know what is resolutions. They believe they are above resolutions, and so therefore we can tell them exactly that our solution followed by suit action, followed by suit actions. That is what we need to let dictatorship know. and any future arises, because they never learn a lesson. And despite the fact that we have shown example, but yet they haven't learned a lesson. They haven't learned what happened to Gaddafi. They haven't learned what happened to Iraqi president. They haven't learned a lesson, because brutal dictatorship, they has memory problems that they don't recall history. But because they don't recall history, they believe that they are above history and they are beyond whatever human reasoning. And so that is why I am here laying the case and what option is available for the United States government. Are we going to sit and romance it? Are we going to focus on Syria? Are we going to focus on Saudi Arabia? Because those that give us more harm, it may be not be Syria, but it might be the people that we call them the ant. And the ant that we believe they are ant is that the one that's going to cause more harm to our citizens. And that is why we have our missionary that is being slaughtered. If we are speaking about Saudi Arabia murdering their own citizens, and we can even talk about our own citizens, a missionary, for Christ's sake, visiting for a church purpose. He has no ammunition. He has no military. He has no weapon at his disposal. He's simply visiting for missionary purpose. And his life was cut short by the most brutal regime on earth that we currently have. Well, I know the brother, the Congressman Tim Wesco. He might be somewhere mourning. Tim Wesco, the congressman, he might be somewhere mourning. He's mourning because his brother were never given a protection. And it doesn't mean that we were not aware of this terrorist government of the neighboring country, La Republic of Cameroon. We here in the United States were aware. We knew exactly what they're up to, because our ambassador has presented a scenario, unlike the Benghazi. The Benghazi, nobody has presented a case. We knew that it's a terror organization, but we knew who they are. But in this case, we have our own diplomat that present a crisis that is going on. And yet we remain adamant. We folded our arms. We remain silent, but we focus on resolutions. Maybe the resolution is time for not to abandon resolution and bring into unilateral actions. And so we set example that any citizens of ours, whoever he was, and should be a threat. You all know when U.S. Marine was murdered, we simply ignored it in 2017 in the same war-torn area by the neighboring country, La Republic of Cameroon. No action was taken. We simply ignored. And to today, or last 30th of this month, we have another victim. Are we going to sit for our arm? Are we going to wait on resolutions? Maybe it's time. We have to let Bia go. It's time. The United States has to let Bia go. It's time we give a unilateral authorization. We don't even need authorization. We don't need to let Africa come to terminate that nonsense and then let we move forward. Because if we continue to allow them, because if we have to wait United Nations is the most corrupt system. I can imagine that it's fiscally here in the United States. The U.S. Attorney General should have indicted the current Secretary General, because it is absolutely the most worst individual that we currently have here in the United States soil. Antonio Guterres is the most corrupted and the most bribery individual I have ever seen at the helm of the United Nations. Remember, Brutus Ghali of Egypt. He wasn't a bribery, corrupted individual, but he has his own vision that was contrary. And that's why Bill Clinton asked him to terminate his duty at the United Nations. And it was done. And we have another person take over the helm of the United Nations. United States seems not to be silent as what is supposed to be done. But I think United States is time to do something about it. It's time United States step up and do something about it. I remember the United States Congress is asking that they're going to propose a resolution to be sent to the United Nations. And they fail to understand that the United Nations is the worst, the corrupted nation that we have on the planet. And if we are dealing with the most corrupted office here in New York, I can imagine that is physically here in the United States. Antonio Guterres, maybe you are not aware, maybe you don't see it, maybe he smiled with you with a smiling face. He's the most back behind corrupted individuals. Bribery is the key of that office, and that action is failing. The purpose of the office is absolutely disgusting. Maybe it's time we ask him for his departure. It's time. The United States is not afraid to stand in the world body and tell exactly what the United States feel about the rest of the world. And therefore, the United Nations is physically in our soil, and we can do something about it. We are not afraid to tell exactly what it is. Maybe it's time that we terminate his job at the United Nations, Antonio Guterres. It's time we terminate his job. It's time we do this and save the office for the purpose in which it was created. It's time. It's time. It's time we terminate Brutus Antonio Guterres' positions. And let's have someone responsible at the helm of the United Nations. I want to take a moment to thank all of you that are watching. How can we, as a world body, make the world a better place for human livable? How can we know what we, the world, can make the world a better place? And we choose to ignore because as though we want to protect a certain individual rather than to making the world a lasting place for human dignity so that people can feel lovable. We know what the world is supposed to be, but we seem to behave as though we are not aware of the factual information as how we can make effective, livable world environment. We turn because one person opposes it, and we obviously will have to be the opposing factor. No, we all come together to make a world a sounding and a most livable place for a human dignity. But when we choose to ignore this factual information because of our own personal interest, and then we make the world more harmful. If we can tell exactly what it is, how we expect the world to look like, and we know that we can do this, but when we turn not to acknowledge that the world ought to be, but we turn to blindfold our eyes, then we are creating a hazard world environment that may not be livable for human dignity. It's time we turn the page and be a lasting world for human posterity. Before I end my conversation this morning, I want to take a moment to thank Barrister Bala. Barrister Bala presented a very wonderful expose at the Canadian House of Commons. And I know his position may be different, may be contrary to mine. But however, I applaud him for his effort. I think he has demonstrated that he can carry on. But I want to change his philosophy that the people of Southern Cameroon, the people of Ambazonian, is no longer negotiable with the neighboring country, La Republic. We are negotiating the term of separation. That is the goal we stand for. Our people is now a nation. Our people has stand as a nation. And our people will use every available resources and to maintain and sustain it. And we will not in any circumstances be dealing with any terrorist government of La Republic. And therefore, we ask those in Ground Zero that those in Ground Zero will stand with you as one people, one identity, one sovereign people, indivisible, and that we love you all. And that La Republic is a terrorist organization. It is a matter of time. That organization will be disbanded and discarded on this planet. There are few individuals of them that are currently circulating. You have Martin Ngele, Barga Martin, the person in charge of security in La Republique. He's the leader of the terrorist organizations that is currently terrorizing the people of Southern Cameroon. We have the defense secretary, the defense whatever, the Minister of Defense. He's currently in charge of terrorizing the people of Southern Cameroon. We have their military, their colony, their general, all of them that are terrorizing our people. Imagine they're burning people alive, they're shooting, killing, even someone, a disabled on a wheelchair, he will immediately be shot dead. A disabled person on a wheelchair. Imagine a disabled person on a wheelchair that is absolutely harmless, and he will be shot dead. A mentally challenged individual dancing on the street like and he will be shot alive and took a gun and placed on that said individual. It is absolutely amazing that one can think that La Republique has mentally challenged individuals. That is why people, when they are above a certain age, they shouldn't be part of the government because they are absolutely mentally disgusted. Just imagine a mentally challenged individual dancing on the street in front of the population and was shot dead and took a dead gun and placed on him as to indicate that he was pretending to shoot someone. A mentally challenged individual. It is quite amazing that we find ourselves in this most terrorist government that lack mentally incomprehensible. A mentally challenged individual dancing on the street and people are laughing, and he was shot and placed a dead gun on his body. It is something wrong in this picture. And disabled a person, basically at the mercy of the populations to provide him food and medicine, sitting on a wheelchair and was shot dead. And old individuals lying in a hospital, an old person admitted in a hospital, and the hospital was burnt, and including the patient that basically cannot even walk. They are dependent and they are in the hospital. The entire hospital was immediately burned down. You will expect the communication minister. What will he say? It was in different country. It happened in different country, not La Republique. You know what? Let me end here. I give you your day so that you can continue with your daily activities. I wish you all a happy day.